Shows family. Is Nomsa here at Ngosi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. So with me today, I'm with Amanda Murray and Grant Morrell. How are you guys?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Live from an airport here today. I just landed from a flight which was a bit delayed, so did the call live from the airport. Uh,
You've been to, have you been to Dublin? You've
yep,
been to
I've
Dublin, right?
been to Dublin, spoke at a conference, had a few meetings and stuff like that. Done some sightseeing, and now back. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So the topic today is change your habits to change your partner. Most people try to change their partners by pointing out flaws, giving advice, or arguing, but really changing in a relationship it doesn't start with fixing the other person. It starts with shifting how you show up. When you change your energy, reaction, and habits, your partner often responds directly without you needing to force it. Randy, I know you chose this topic based on what we were talking about last week.
Right.
So, what was the motivation when you decided to? Because you actually gave us the topic when we were live. So, what was the motivation behind all this?
Well, last week now seems like about 6 weeks ago to me because a lot has happened since. But I do remember as session was going through, something came about, and I thought that would be a great subject for next week. It kind of spun off from the topic we had last week, and I think the thrust of it is exactly this. You've always heard the expression in life that be the change that you want to see. Don't be the person who says, "Yeah, someone needs to do something about this," and they say, well, "How about you?" And I go, "Oh, no, 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 not me. I mean, like somebody else." That kind of diminished responsibility, which we hear all too often. That somebody needs to do something about it. Be the change you want to see in the world. Stand out and do the thing that needs to happen. So this happens in the world of business leadership an awful lot. We talk about leading from the front. Do the things that you ask other people to do. Take your own medicine and all that. Do this. And it's very, very important. But it occurs to me that what happens in the world of business and commerce also relates to relationships. It's unfair. Now, my mind goes back to several years ago. I was at a personal development event, and afterwards, you socialize with people. You know, you go to the bar, you talk, and you know each other. You know, you start to get to know quite a few of the people. You meet some new people. I was all in the bar, socializing, laughing, and joking. And the conversation ensued with a lady, a very good lady, who I know actually, and a lady that I was talking to asked her, "Are you married? Are you single? Are you dating?" Sorry about the background noise. But and I asked her, and she said, "No, no, I'm single." And I said, "Oh, okay. Are you looking for somebody?" And she said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, what kind of person are you looking for?" There it was. I've said it before. Outcome of the list. The list. Oh, it was like reams and reams of criteria what she was looking for in a perfect partner. Well, I started to smile, try not to let it show. And the other lady, she realised too, because we're both on the same train of thought. And I said to her after, "That's great. That's quite a list. You've got a very precise criteria of what you're looking for your ideal partner." Yes. So what about you then? Do you have all those attributes? And she said, "Oh no, but that's what I want somebody else." And it kind of made me chuckle. Not that we're going to be an actual mirror image of our ideal partner, but wouldn't it be good to have some of the complementary attributes that would help to bring that? And with that and the conversation we had last week, that's why I thought what a great subject would be to change your habits to change your partner. So that was the inspiration behind today's show. Amanda, what are you thinking to that?
I really love this because I think, like in my own perspective too, like one of the things being a single mom, I was like, okay, what are the things that I'm looking for in somebody? And one of the things is like somebody that's active and goes to the gym and stuff, but I wasn't going to the gym every day. And I was like, well, if I want this in somebody else, then that's something that I need to make sure that I'm doing too. Like I've always been somebody that exercises, but not as consistently as I'm wanting in somebody else. And so I was like, okay, if I want somebody to show up that has these qualities, then I need to exhibit those qualities too. And so that's one of the things that is my habit that I've changed a little bit. And even just to like so I've been forcing myself to get to the gym at least like 4 times a week, which has been great. But I always have gone to like yoga and the gym and everything else, but it was like maybe 2 times a week sometimes, maybe like 4 times a week sometimes, and not as consistent as I've been like, okay, this is my goal and this is what I'm going to do. And when we really look at our habits, when we look at different relationships in our past too, there's people that showed up in our life because those are the habits that we had and they fit into our life because of what we were doing and how we were showing up. Well, if you want something different in your life, then you have to show up differently in order to attract those people that are different, that match your new energy. And I know when I look at like marriages that have lasted a really long time, they're people who adjust and grow together. And if they're not growing together, then they're going to end up splitting off at some point in time. And I remember one of my really good friends, when my daughter was really little, um, they were like me, they didn't drink a whole bunch, but she said like when they were in school and in university, they were like big drinkers and big partiers, but then as they grew up, they've like got onto a path where they didn't drink. And if they both didn't choose that path, they wouldn't have stayed together. And so really when we're looking at relationships and habits, it's how you grow together. And if you change and your partner doesn't, then you're going to be at a crossroads with them and have to figure out if you're going to continue the journey together or split off and go on to different paths. And I think that's something that we're constantly, like, as we grow and as we learn and as we develop to be the best versions of ourselves, our habits change. My habits that I had 15 years ago aren't the same as the ones that I have now. And so when we look at what we want to show up in our lives, we really, like Grant said, do you exhibit all of those qualities that you're looking for in somebody else? Well, if you don't, you probably have to change something. But I do think too, to be the counter person, that sometimes we look for people who have qualities that we're seeking because that's not our strong point. And so because I'm a shy person, I sometimes look for people who are a little bit not so shy so that they help me get out of my shell a little bit. And because I'm so introverted and I'm quite an introverted person, that I think anyways, that then I seek people who are a little bit more extroverted so that it forces me to go out a little bit more. So sometimes I think we can find people too that have maybe like a little bit different habits than us so that they help us grow in areas that aren't our strengths. I don't know. What do you think about that, Nomza? You're on mute.
I like the part where you say you were looking for somebody who goes to the gym and you were not going to the gym and you were like, hang on a minute, I need to go to the gym. There are so many people, like, as a matchmaker, you get to learn so many things, like the things that people take for granted. Most guys, when they come and looking for a woman, there's few that are looking for proper relationship, but mostly that when they describe what they're looking for is more like a supermodel and someone and I'm like, then what happens when the body changes? Because the people don't stay the same, they change, the bodies change. So what are you going to do with that? Mostly, like, if a 60-year-old is looking for a 20-year-old, yeah, I got to ask deep questions, because to me that sounds very creepy. So I got to get into deep and use the psychology to get to the bottom of it. But I like when you said, even Grant, when you said you have to, when we chose this topic, like you have to, the energy that you have to bring it will like motivate your spouse to become what you are. Because I think some people believe in controlling. I don't believe in controlling anybody. I don't believe in telling people what to do. But there's one thing that I believe, that my energy, who I become, if I'm clear of what I want in life, not what I hate, and also if I focus on what I want in my life, my spouse, what my spouse is doing wrong, I think in that way it helps the energy define. And also my spouse will end up, will be like, okay, if she's this, I admire your character, so, and then he'll want to be that. And then even though he's not what I am, he will compliment me. So I think that is the best way to do. And also communicate openly with someone. I've met girls, like sometimes they'll go on dates and they'll be like, I don't like his shirt, that is what he was wearing, so I don't like to go on a second date with him. So I'm like, you do realize that the man that already knows how to dress, there's a woman behind that. It's either they have a good sister that gives them advice, or they have a good mother, or they have a good whatever, auntie or ex, whatever. So you can't find a prepared man. That means that there was someone behind that preparation. So when you let them know that you can't judge someone based on what they are wearing, they're like, but what if he continues wearing that? I'm like, it's never gonna happen. But sometimes we do it, like with many, sometimes many do it as a test to see whether this person is actually looking for real. They know how to dress, but they show up looking like they want to know. They are very, very successful. They truly, truly want to know that, is this person actually looking for love or not? Because what do you think, Grant?
So you're saying, yeah, they may dress for success, they may look the part, they dress appropriately, but are they looking for love? Is that what you said?
Yeah. No,
That's
no, no. What I'm saying is, if a guy shows up and is wearing like a normal top or a t-shirt, that's what they want to wear. And then a woman judges them based on what they are wearing. So now here's the question is, are you looking for love or are you looking for clothes?
right. Okay. Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You know, the famous joke is about the lady meets the guy and sort of says to him, hey, you shouldn't eat that. You should eat this. Now, you shouldn't speak like that. You should speak like this. You shouldn't wear those clothes. You know, these would suit you better. Then after a little while, the woman says, I'm not sure if this relationship's working out. I don't feel we're compatible. And the guy says, why? And she says, you just don't seem like the same guy that I once met. And I've always said it. And it's true that people inherently seem to want to change other people. If you listen to human nature, when we talk about things, people will invariably talk about their opinions. And indeed, that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're giving our opinion. It doesn't necessarily make us right or wrong, it's just our opinion. But most people in life, they're not content to have their opinion. They almost want to make other people share their same opinion as us. And is that right? Is that wrong? What about fashion sense? True, some people don't really have much of a sense of how to dress, and some people do, but some people aren't motivated by it. It's not their leader, it's not their main thing. Do you follow fashion? Now, that's an interesting point, because if you follow fashion, not all fashions suit that individual, not all fashions suit that body shape that you have. So, are you just a dedicated follower of fashion, as the wonderful old song sings? Or are you are you a fashionista for the sake of it, or are you a stylist? Do you wear clothes that suit your style and emphasize your personality, your looks, your body shape, etc.? But more to the point, are you content with none of those? Or do you want to actually do that for other people? Well, You could argue if you want to do that, go get a job that says that and paying clients who are asking for it. I think the key thing is, it's like anything in life. If somebody says, "Hey, can I have your opinion on X?" then you're entitled to give it. If they don't, then perhaps you shouldn't give it. You could actually ask, "Are you open to a suggestion on this?" And maybe they are, maybe they're not. Famously, a good friend of mine, a lady in France, said that her brother is very submissive in his relationship. His girlfriend tells him what to do. Now, he's not a smart dresser, right? He really doesn't care about it. And he wore a clean t-shirt, which was not tucked in. But he spilled a little bit of yogurt. Okay, right at the bottom, a little bit of yogurt. And his girlfriend was saying, "Oh my God, you spilled yogurt on it." Da, 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 da. And what he did nothing else but got the offending part of the t-shirt and just tucked it under his belt. He said, "Is that better now, pussycat?" So he just hid it out of sight and figured that was the solution. And strangely enough, it actually was. She was quiet after. I mean, I laughed for ages when I heard this. It's not the kind of thing I do. I'd want to wash it out and get it clear. But that doesn't make me right, does it? It's just people are different. It's a funny story, but there you go. She wasn't content. She wanted to dress him up like a little soldier, just the way she wanted. Is this right? Is it wrong? It's nice to care for the one you love. It's nice to make them look good, I suppose. But some people simply aren't motivated by it, and it doesn't make them wrong. Should you be accepting them for what they are? I think perhaps in the world of dating, it is about it. If it's sincere, if they're not just a trophy girlfriend or a trophy boyfriend who makes you look good by having them on your arm, if it is true love, then I guess we should be accepting people for what they actually are and praising them for what they are, as long as they're not hurting anybody else. I guess that's perhaps the correct answer. But and I'm guessing that you probably would agree with me. But let's dig into this a little bit further. If we do agree, and feel free to disagree, but if you do agree that's the right answer, if we know that's the right answer, why do so many people not do that? Why do they still want to change their partner? Have you got any thoughts around that, Amanda?
Yeah, I think sometimes we just get it in our head of like what it is that we want, and then we are like delusional about the reality of it, right? Is that like learning to accept the things that we cannot change is sometimes something that's really hard. And I think sometimes too, we like in the beginning of a relationship, we overlook things that we really shouldn't overlook. And we're like, we think they'll get better, and really they don't. Those become the things that really irritate you about a person in the long run. I think too, when we're looking at relationships with ourselves, our habits really determine who we are and how we show up. And like I'm thinking, Grant, like you're obviously committed to your job and your passion because you literally just got off an airplane and now you're on, showing like the commitment to sharing your knowledge with the world. And this morning I was really struggling to get up because here it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I didn't sleep very well last night. I've been up since about 3 and I like finally got back to sleep, and then my alarm went off at 5:30 and I was like, oh, I really am so tired and I don't want to get up and do this. But I was like, I really enjoy our conversations, and I'm really trying to make sure that I'm following all of my values so that I keep showing up in my authentic self. And also I have this goal of sharing things with the world and sharing my knowledge with the world and sharing my knowledge of education with the world, that I'm like, I need to consistently do. So I need to just get my butt out of bed because I thought about being like, can I just come on tomorrow? But I was like, what if I have another bad sleep? And so sometimes we have to get up and we have to do things that we know are good for our mental health and for our goals, even when we're tired and we don't want to do them, or even when we just get off an airplane. And so I think sometimes when we look at our habits, we sometimes just go the easier direction. It would have been a lot easier for me to just turn off my alarm and send a text and say I'm going back to bed for until 7 when I like literally have to get up to be at work on time. And it probably would have been easier for Grant to be like, guys, I just got off the plane. I'm gonna just go home and I'll come on next week, because he's literally sitting in an airport. But when you're committed to something and you have goals, you're going to show up for them. But often, many people just take the easier route. And I think sometimes if you're wanting to change something, you have to really look at yourself and ask yourself the question, am I constantly taking the easier route? And wait for your answer to yourself. Really sit with that question and say, where am I taking the easier route? And is this a good choice? And is that my default? Because sometimes in certain scenarios, I think taking the easier route is a better choice, but in many scenarios, it's like a cop out, right? And so if you're like, oh, I'll just do this tomorrow, I'll just do this tomorrow, and then a year passes and you still haven't done it, then you're really not showing up. And you're just taking the easier route each and every day and doing those same habits of I'll just lay down and watch TV because I'm tired, or I'll just hit snooze a whole bunch of times because I didn't sleep well. And so when we look at our habits and what we want to change in a partner, I really think we need to begin with ourselves first.
I agree with Amanda. We have to show up for ourselves, and how we show up, and that energy will actually motivate the other person to become who they want to become. Me, I don't do the talking. I realize talking is a waste of time, even with my siblings, with my family, with my mom. I don't do no talking. Honestly, I don't. It's just a waste of time. But I find that whatever I do, my mom will ask questions and then I tell her what I do. Like my mom, she's a pastor, and we pray together. So only if she asks, I saw her that she's interested in me, because with my pastor is so amazing. So I teach her things. I teach her things that I've learned because she shows interest, because my energy. But otherwise, talking is a waste of time, because I wouldn't want anyone to change me. I want people to accept me for who I am. And then I have to learn from that person. So that's why I find that we shouldn't have to change anybody. If somebody, the habits that we have, they will speak louder, and that person will want to be like, oh, I want, like in my office today, like I talk about fasting and stuff. And one of the girls last week, she said, you know what, Nomsa, I'm fasting. I was like, oh, really? Yeah. And she was like, and Nikki as well. Nikki was fasting. There's quite a few people, even on Facebook, that are fasting, but not because I tell them, do that, do that. Because I share my story, and some of them, they see me with my dance video and look good. But for me, it's not what I see in me, but to them is motivating them to wanting to change things in their lives. But I also agree with Grant. Grant, you mentioned that not every style suits everybody. I used to go like magazine, celebrity magazine. And when I see a celebrity wearing something, I would want to go and buy it. Until I ask myself, I was like, what energy did that person put for them to complete that dress? And I'll be like, they had to think of the style, they have to get the designer, and they had to sit down with the designer, agree to disagree. And then me, I'm just coming on and copying their style. I was like, no, that's not how it works. I need to create my own style that suits me. So then I was like, I'm no longer copying anyone on social media. So 10 years ago, I stopped copying people. If I see someone wearing something that I like, I admire it and I leave it there, because it's their style, it's their choice, as what they have decided to be, but that's not me. So like everybody sees me wearing leather dresses. They don't know the thing behind it is because I can't buy anything because I lose weight every day. But with the leather dress, actually, yeah, with the leather dress, it can last me for like 6 months. But with the normal material, if I buy it online, by the time it gets to me, it can't fit. It doesn't fit. So I'm like, I'm just wasting time. So I just wear leather. But some people are like, oh, I like leather. Where do you buy your dresses? I'm like, you just have to find your own style. So yeah, I agree with you, Amanda and Grant, that we don't have to change our. Have you ever dated anyone, Grant, that tries to change you? You're muted.
I think when people try to change you, some people succumb, but some people it creates a thing called reactance. So it's a reactance is that sort of thing where it says, don't touch this, don't touch it. What do? You go and touch it. So typically you got to go wear this, you got to go and wear that. Then you just go and do the exact opposite. In fact, the story came from one of my sisters. When I had two sisters, they both went shopping, and they was with the brother-in-law or the partner of one of them. And he said to them both, two tops. I'm not sure what to get. This like maroon colored one or the dark blue. Both the girls said dark blue, dark blue. He said, great, thank you, and picked up the maroon one. And they said, why did he do that? I said, perhaps he always feels that his choice is completely better than the opposite of what you do. Or perhaps you just didn't want to be told. I don't know. It's all kind of fun, but people certainly want to do it their way. Um, I'm often reminding people this. Sometimes people just want to do it their way. And again, nothing wrong with it. It doesn't always make sense to us, does it? You know, we're convinced that we know best. You know, you want to do it this way, it's better this way because of X, Y, and Z. We all feel we're right, don't we? But everything, our opinion is there because we feel we're right. People don't often say, I don't really know. I tend to say it more often, I think, than a lot of people. But I'm sure there's many times when I don't say I don't know, and many times when I'm convinced I'm right, like the rest of us. Does it mean to say you are right? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's just a feeling. But the stronger the feeling, the more puzzled we are that somebody else doesn't listen to it. But it's a habit of going forward. I think we need to ask ourselves the question: if somebody tried to change us, tried to do this, how would we feel? What emotions would that bring up? What triggers would it bring up? What would that do for the relationship? Would it enhance it or would it deteriorate it? And if so, why the hell are you doing it? So isn't really going to help the end result, is it? So communication is good. You could ask someone, would you like advice on that? If you want to choose for yourself, would you like my advice on how I go about making the decision? And they might say, yeah, that'd be helpful. Or they might say, no, I'm still not bothered. But it's about acceptance. So I think the more in life we accept situations. Now, people argue and say, never accept the situation, make the situation yours. I get it. I'm a bit like that. But sometimes it's good just to go along with the flow. I mean, I'm a leader, but sometimes I'm in a crowd when I haven't got to lead. I'm quite happy to be a subordinate. I'm quite happy to sit back and enjoy and go with the flow. I've been going around on a tour for the last couple of days with very limited information on where we're going the next day and what we're doing or how we're doing it. And I'm just turning up, going for the ride, and quite surprised. And it's been, it would drive a lot of people crazy. A lot of people couldn't handle it. Like they need structure and discipline. I don't so much. I don't need it. I'm okay. I mean, it kind of drives me a little bit nuts, but not very much. I'm pretty okay with it up to a point. It's just fun for a couple of days. It's nice to be unstrapped and just let the breeze blow you along a little bit. Because in our lives, we're often making a lot of decisions all the time. It makes a change. So, do you need that light and dark? If you're always busy making decisions in your life, in your career, do you really want to be bringing that back home to the relationship? Is that the kind of life you want, or do you want that sort of symbiotic relationship where you just bounce off each other and people you're just happy to be with that person, and as long as you're with them, that's good. Doesn't really matter what color sweater they're wearing. I think that'll probably be a better option unless there's a given purpose. Now, we always laugh. You know, you see the comedy shows where it's like Christmas Day and the slobby husband's there and the wife, you better get dressed up. We're going to visiting the other family, you know. They say, oh, I got to, I'm already dressed. I said, yeah, but not in that stuff that you would wear. And he's wearing like a scruffy sort of tennis shirt. And she says, go and get dressed up. Well, the next scene, you see them arriving at the next house, and he's wearing exactly the same clothes, scruffy tennis shirt. He's just put a tie over the top of it. And it looks hideous, but it's funny. So that was his impression of, oh, I get dressed up, I'll wear a tie. Now, you know, I'm of the age where my parents were, you know, of a different era, obviously, to me, and I'm of a different era to some very young people. But back in the day, as long as my mother and father had been married, and they had, and as familiar and well as my father got on with his mother-in-law, on a Sunday, who went to visit her, he would wear a shirt tie. He would wear a shirt and tie to go see his mother-in-law. It's just the thing that guys did in those days. They wore hats, and when a lady came in, they took a hat off. It's it's just the way they were brought. You know, you held doors open for ladies, and I would be told off if I hadn't. You know, it was that kind. It's the way it was bred. So of course some ladies would be upset by that now. I think we're sort of sexist, but it's not intended that way. It's made out of respect. I'll hold doors open for guys, you know. It does. I'm quite grateful if someone holds the door open for me too. So it's not as much the thing, it's the intention behind it. That's what. But different eras, different ways of dressing, different ways of doing things. Um, was it good? Was it better the way it was years ago? Is it better the way it is now? Or is it exactly the same? Is it just that some couples are more like that and some aren't? What do you think, Amanda? Or is it regional? Is it something that happens in Canada and doesn't happen here? What do you think? What's your observations on that?
How things have changed over time. I just want to clarify your question. Yeah, I think things definitely have changed over time, and some for the better and some not so much. I think that, like, I'm a single mom who has a great job. I own my own house, I own my own car. Like, those things have changed from the past, where you wouldn't have seen very many women completely supporting themselves and their kids in the past, right? And that part has definitely changed. I was listening to, I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast the other day, and he was talking about how a lot of, like, 1 in 3 graduates out of the, like, colleges in the States are men. And so the vast majority of people graduating are women. And I'm not 100% sure that was the stat, but it was quite significant that more women are graduating from college than men are now, and that was never the case in the past. And so we're seeing this, like, shift in what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a, like, provider and all of those things that were traditional roles in the past, and how that's shifting. And I don't know which is better or which is worse. I know for myself, coming out of a very abusive marriage, that being able to support myself is like my only savior. Really, right? It's because I was able to escape and leave, and if I was born 50 years ago, that probably wouldn't have been the case. And so I'm very grateful that I can support myself and I think that that's a good thing in some respects, but I also see some traditional roles as very valuable too. And I honestly won't date anybody unless they're bringing something valuable into my life, right? Because I'm like, I already can support myself on my own. So unless you're going to bring something significant in that I can't already provide myself, then I'm good on my own, right? And I think we're seeing a lot of that more so than we had in the past, and whether that's good or bad, I don't know the answer to that question. I was laughing. Oh,
It's an interesting point, though, isn't it? Because you say, like, where people getting used to looking after themselves. Does that mean to say they're more tolerant of other people having their own space and their own opinions? Because I'm used to it. So if I'm used to it, it's unfair to expect somebody else to be any different. I'll be becoming more tolerant to that. Indeed, not wanting to change people. I mean, it's an interesting point because, yeah, we work on the assumption that people don't. Some people do. Some people do. They're really free and easy with it. Have you experienced this, Nomsa?
Have I experienced what, Grant?
The
Sorry.
fact that what we're saying is
Uh,
that you work on the assumption that people want to change other people and they're not accepting in a relationship. Amanda's saying that, she's quite used to being on her own, doing her own things, and I am too. So with
yes,
that in mind, does it make us
yes.
more tolerant of other people's differences and more in a relationship allow a person, someone to wear that silly jumper, that you just don't like,
Yes, I think for me, what I have trained myself is to mind my own business.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Mind your own
even,
business.
yeah, I've trained myself to mind my own business. If I love someone as much as I say I love them, my energy will change them. And I like, Amanda, what you say, that you wouldn't bring anyone into your life that will not bring anything, because I've met girls where they say, I've met guys that they end up uh, becoming their problems. They end up looking after them and they're not bringing anything. Having said that, there are relationships that we connect ourselves, but there are other relationships that God connect us. That person, God will connect us with someone who has nothing, who looks like they have nothing, but they do. In spirit, they do. They could be coming to motivate you to becoming maybe a millionaire, or to becoming a billionaire, or to become the woman that you are meant to be. But that one is very, very clear. You don't have to try hard. It's those people, they don't come along very often. They come when God sees your struggles and He sees your heart, that you truly, truly want to change. There's a path where you need to get to, and then He will bring that kind of a person. Like my pastor, when he met his wife, he was poor. She was coming from a wealthy family. She was wealthy, had a good job. When he tells you this story, you will laugh. He did not have a suit, he had nothing. He says, if I was to compare the guys that wanted her, I think I was number last.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was number last, but his relationship, he was connected with God, with him, and God knew that he needed to be where he needed to be, but she was the woman that needed to take him to be anointed, to be powerful and anointed and do healing for people. But God had to connect with that woman. So when they met, his wife was deformed. His face, he was facing the head was on the side. I don't know if you know witchcraft. So yeah, that's how she was. So he had to heal her to go back to normal. So when he prayed for her, she went back to normal straight away. And God said, that's your wife. And he was like, what? I don't think so.
Crazy. How about that?
Yeah. But then later on, they got together. 5 years later, they got married. And now they are wealthiest people in the world. So it shows that sometimes the stories that we create, the universe knows about our story, but you find women who are living in a fantasy world. You find men who are living in a fantasy world where they say, give me a rich man or a rich woman. And then you find the story, they just want the money. So it does not work like that. When it comes to life, to real life, it doesn't work like that. So I don't know about you, Grant.
I
Why,
what what was your question, Nomsa?
as a man, what has been oh, also I forgot, when you mentioned like opening doors, like in Africa, men still have, when they go to their in-laws, they still have to dress up, wear suits.
Huh?
Yeah, they still have to do that.
right?
But me, I always laugh at my brother-in-laws and I'm like, why are you wearing a suit? Because now I live in England. I'm like, why are you wearing a suit? I always laugh at him when he speaks. He has to like be polite to everyone. I'm like, it just makes me laugh.
It's a wonderful tapestry of things, isn't it? But I think, in essence, if you'd like someone else to change, if someone's got a habit that's perhaps not something like they wear a sweater that you don't like, and that doesn't matter. But if they've got a habit that you really think does need changing for their best benefits, maybe it's a hygiene habit. I don't know. Maybe it's a way of speaking, or it comes across as rude to people, even though they don't mean to be rude, it just comes across. So if there's a habit you'd like them to change, would it not be a better idea, as we said at the beginning, to be like a leader and go from the front, be from the front, and in fact to change your own habits first? As I used the analogy that someone said to me some time ago, my wife needs to lose weight. She needs to lose weight. And I said, well, he said, and I've told her this. And I said, you've told your wife she needs to lose weight. I said, you may want to be a tad more diplomatic. Would it not be better to say, I really think it'd be really good for me to lose a little bit of weight, good for health, to do a little bit of that. I'm going to check out a gym. Would you want to do it with me? It could be fun. We do it together, and perhaps we could look at a joint membership. What do you think? It could be a fun thing to do together. Would it not be a better idea to say something like that? So if you take that analogy, if that works, would that not be a better way to change our own habits first, to go first, to be the change that you want to see in the world, in your relationship? Would that be a better way? And that's what I would allude to the listeners of the show. And I would love them to write in, if not now, later, so we can look at it, review it, and just see where you are. This Nopsa, you said you had a great friend who always encourages, let's use that word, encourages her partner to do well, because she's a male, right? She's a male, and she said that she needs her man to be, doing the right things at the right time, as a right hand, as a foil to her, right? That kind of thing. And to a certain extent, it is a team effort for that. Is it right? Is it wrong? Would she work with that? What about if we led from the beginning? That's my suggestion, and that's what I would like to see. Hello.
Hello.
What do we think?
Go, bye.
As we were speaking before, I was thinking a little bit about habits and how we show up and how people show up at the beginning of relationships versus once the relationship gets comfortable. And I think that when we really look at our habits, like I remember one relationship I was in, and the person complained about their previous partner in like not liking to go hiking or like get out to the mountains, that because we live really close to the mountains, and not always wanting to do these adventurous things in the mountains that I always am doing. And so they really enjoyed that about me in the beginning, but then as our relationship continued, they weren't wanting to like go out and do those things as often, and they fell back into their like regular habits, not the habits of like what they were trying to show at the beginning. And I think that's something that we have to realize in ourselves too, is that sometimes we think, oh, looking at other people, this is like something that I've really been missing out on. And then you meet somebody that does those things, and then when you start doing them, you realize they're not really your thing. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time to like navigate the type of person that you truly are, and then how other people show up too. And then since we broke up like that, I've never seen that person go hiking or like skiing or any of those things since, which I think is really like hilarious, but also like at least they learned that about themselves, that wasn't something that really was important to them, where it is something that's genuinely important to me. I think that's something that we need to look at when we're navigating relationships, is because sometimes people show up. His battery just died on his computer. Sometimes people show up very differently at the beginning of relationships, and then their habits show up later on, was what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I think, yeah, people are happy to show up, but I think that's where the authenticity comes in. I think you have to, as a person, when you start dating someone, you have to look at whether are they pretending or is it their character? Because any character that is being put on you, you can see it. This is why you have to use the psychology to make sure that that person is not pretending, and also asking questions, ask them questions and stuff, or go shopping together and do all these things, normal things that normal people do, instead of going for meals and just going for outings only. Just do other things, or sometimes um and just do different things together and see whether, without judging them as well. Sometimes some people may need help, or sometimes some people they might be okay. So it's really depend. But if you're really, really clear with what you want, but myself, I think I've surrendered myself to everything, that the expectations that I expect about people, because I find that if those expectations that are not met in my heart, I end up behaving in a different way towards that person. So I just let people be, honestly. And I ask myself, what would make me feel if I was to change this person? But there are some things that I can't tolerate. I have to have boundaries and principles in place, that that person knows that they cannot cross this, they cannot do this in my life, and just respect. I like a well-cultured guy, a guy that speaks to a woman that is very disrespectful. For me, they lose. I just don't want them near me. So that's my number one principle. A man has to. There's a man upstairs, like where he used to live. He doesn't live here, but he lives somewhere. But he comes around here, and I found him on the street, chatting, telling his girlfriend off. So I had to ask him, I was like, what kind of a man are you? Really telling your woman off? But we're friends now. And I was like, no, you can't tell a woman off. You have to speak to a lady like a lady. You got to respect her. You got to really, really love her and respect. But when you don't respect her on the street and you tell her off, I know in the English culture it's normal, but I was like, it's not normal to me. So it makes me like freak out. Like, why would you tell your woman off in front of people? So he's not doing it. Like, he was like, okay, he apologized. But now when I see him, we're like good friends. So I think those things are important. What kind of advice you give to our audience, like to take, Amanda?
Yeah, well, our topic today essentially is change your habits, change your partner. And essentially, if we want something to change in our lives, we can only really have control over ourselves. And so if you decide to change your habits, then your partner may come along and change with you, or they might not. And then you're going to have to figure out what your boundaries are and how you want to navigate that, because you can't change anybody else, no matter what you do. You could do everything possible to get them to try to shift, and unless they truly value those changes, they're not going to change. Even when you look at like alcoholism or something like that, like you can give everyone all the reasons in the world to stop drinking, but unless they want to stop drinking, they're not going to stop drinking. Or drugs or whatever it is. Or like Grant was saying about the exercise, it's really the only person you can change is yourself. And so if you want to start showing up differently, then you're going to have to change your habits, and your partner may change or they may not, or you may need to just find a different partner or spend some time alone and really truly navigating who you are as a person. And sometimes that's the most liberating thing of all.
Yeah, that's really, really important. And also for me, what I will leave you guys with is just focus on your life. And that person, they're in your life, they're your best friend. And if you truly, truly treat them as your friend, your best friend, your lover, your all in all, they will want to be motivated to say, okay, this is, I admire your character, this is what you do, and how do I become who I want to become? What do you do differently than you trying to change them? But then you have some people that don't want change. Don't stress yourself, because if someone does not want to grow with you, so there is no point in trying to force them to grow and be who you want them to be. That picture that we have about our spouse, you got to delete them, but you got to make sure that you're both in alignment with everything that you do, your goals, your dreams, your all in all. But you don't go and live in 5 years' time. There's some people who create goals and they'll go and live in those goals, and that's frustrating and that's so annoying as well, and it's depressing. So that's what I leave you guys with. And also, if you're watching us from any part of social media, please do share the video and be part of Ngozi family, Ngozi Talk Shows family, by joining the group on Facebook. We have two groups, Unique Billionaire Mindset and Ngozi Talk Shows. And subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, be part of the family. And you can go to the website, it is www.hatchseia.coach, and be part of it as well. And there's another domain I think that is being created, but that one is simply for advertising for London, I think London clients. So once is gone live, I will let you know, guys, so you can, those who are based in London, you can have a look and contact the office and get involved, find love. God bless everyone, and we shall